everyone breathe because Shaft's got another hot take. And to be honest, it's probably not even that hot. It's the coldest take on the planet when it comes to the Commander format. The BNR announcement is coming up on February the 9th, and whether or not we get changes to the list, I think I can definitively say I am on the side of unban it all.
Jesus Christ.
Get those trigger fingers turning into Twitter fingers. Put them down.
Drake!
Put them down. Delete that comment. In my opinion, the Game Changers list and the concept of brackets plus the Game Changers list actually solves all the problems on the ban list. Now we're gonna go through this video by the distraction makers to go over it all, but I wanted to get my take out there. And before we hop into that video in general, let me know how you're feeling in the comment section down below. Because I said unban it all and gave you a brief overview of the reasoning why, do you agree? Do you disagree? Is there one or two cards that you absolutely cannot see return in a 100-card multiplayer? I wanna hear it all, and then let's talk about some unbans in Commander. It's time to fix the Commander ban list. Oh my lord, distraction makers. Y'all are always trying to hit him with the controversy, I guess. Y'all always trying to hit him with something crazy. So I noticed already from the comment sections, there's potentially some edgelords or some goated takes. There's some base takes here. You know, I basically disagree with everything you said in this episode. We haven't even watched it yet. That's not the usual take. You know, I feel like they keep treating Commander as its own thing. They probably won't change the Commander ban list at the time they do with every other format, all that type of stuff. Player talking about how Leovold is miserable. I mean, as someone who recently played against Leovold in Tiny Leaders, oh my god, it wasn't necessarily like the Commander was miserable. The mid-range soup of what those colors offer is kind of the miserable part. But oh well. My initial stance, right, going into this, let me just make myself completely clear. And if my opinion changes over the video or it evolves, I'm more than happy for it. My take going into this video is that they should just unban everything. There are cards on that ban list that make A, no sense, and B, make no sense in context with what is already unbanned, and C, doesn't make sense when it comes to the bracket system. A lot of this can already just be managed with the bracket system. If you have a Game Changers list, the ban list can be managed. Like 99% of the ban list, and I'm saying 99 because I truly subjectively believe 100%, but I'm trying to provide caveats. All of it can be managed with the Game Changers list. The literal inclusion of the Game Changers list just completely removes the need for the ban list. Now, of course, what they're doing is like the Game Changers list is functionally a watch list, which I'm sure they'll bring up, but you know, cards can go to be banned, and if it's on the Game Changers, and if it gets removed, then it won't get banned. If it gets put onto it, it's on the watch list or whatever, right? Like, it's just, when it comes to bracket 3 gameplay, from my experience, you know, the amount of Commander games I play per month, and maybe a lot of creators and a lot of people more invested play more, but this is coming from someone that plays every format of Magic. I play at least somewhere in the range of 2 to 5 games of Standard, Pauper, Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, all in a month, all of that in a month, alongside somewhere in the range of 10 to 15 games of Commander per month. That is a lot of Magic. Someone who's heavily invested in Magic and can see it from all aspects of it, I can say that the ban list can just be managed by its players. We do not need it from a Game Changers perspective. Maybe there's an exception for 1 or 2 cards, but that is my stance.
Unbans incoming.
Oh,
maybe.
Or they're just going to say, all good.
No changes. No changes. It doesn't seem likely. Ban/unban announced.
I do think it'll be no changes, though, in the sense that they did talk about how like the Silver Border project might get some update. They might talk about, you know, the hot topic debate of the, you know, kind of the different mana costs and how we can play them, and you know, Ashiok Dreamrender being available in mono blue and mono black and all that stuff. Like, all that stuff might be discussed. They might go with no changes, but let's see.
Announcement is coming up February 9th.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little recap of the ban list. We're going to talk about the cards that we think probably can just come off the ban list and would be fine. And then we're going to talk about the cards that are potentially unbans if you want to get spicy.
Distraction makers.
Let's get to the cards that we think could probably be safely unbanned and wouldn't really change much of anything.
First card on the list is Biorhythm. As a reminder, Biorhythm is a sorcery, 6 and 2 green. Each player's life total becomes the number of creatures he or she controls. Whoa! You're saying everyone's life total is going to...
Notice how nothing happened with Coalition Victory. I want everyone in the comment section that came to me when I said Coalition Victory could be unbanned. Did anything happen? Did anything happen when that damn big blue mana card that like you bounce all permanents to your hand? What is it? Is it Sway of Stars? Did anything happen? No. Is the format on fire? Hold on. You got your water hose out. Is the format on fire? Let me know in the comment section down below, because this is the same thing. This is the same thing. This is the same thing. In what Commander game are you gonna have no creatures on the battlefield? Like, you gotta set that up. You have to work for that one.
Drop really low?
Holy cow.
Maybe 0.
Only for the inexpensive price of 8 mana.
Yep. So Wizards here said we can go in any green deck, requires very little setup to cast, and really disproportionately impacts the player to your right, compared to Coalition Victory, which only goes in 5-color decks and requires you to control 5 colors worth of permanents. It is a bit much. I mean, I guess it can go in any green deck.
This is sort of the, I think Wizards of the...
Like, okay, if you're talking about like, okay, so this is my problem with like some of this language, right? You're talking about the disproportional effect to someone on your right. What that language imposes is a perfection of Commander. Like, that's what that is, a min-maxing of Commander that no average player will ever do in this format, right? No matter how much the 3/3 elk, snail, mages of the world, avocado, blood artists, whatever of the world wants to do, that's not happening. That's not happening. The enfranchised player may optimize. They might care about how much this affects their person to the right and all that stuff. You watching this video might care. But your average LGS player that always talks about touching grass and how they got real jobs and everything, they don't care about any of that, right? So that doesn't matter at all. The average table, that does not matter. There are going to be times where it wipes people out. And you know what that teaches them? It either teaches people to like grow up or just leave. Because there's no way you start hating Commander from just losing to Biorhythm. That's a skill issue. That's a skill check. That's a mentality problem, right? Like, play a counterspell. Play something that makes a creature. Like, play around the Biorhythm, right? Like, there are things that are really powerful in this game. You cannot play around everything. You have to just accept that you lose to something. Right? I've lost a game of Modern Mill to Sakura Tribe Elders, like, swinging at me. The 1/1 thing that sacks itself to get a forest. I've lost to that thing swinging at me turn after turn. Things happen in Magic the Gathering that happen at extremes. And when they do, you play around them or you choose to just move on. I'm not going to play more removal to remove the Sakura Tribes. I'm not, right? Because that was a niche case that, like, the Amulet player will never be able to do ever again. Unless I play enough games over hundreds and hundreds of games against Amulet Titan, it might happen again, right? Like, you don't worry about these corner cases. You will always expect the players to be able to remove that. Like, you should be playing more instant speed removal, and maybe then you can check some other player and be like, oh, you better deal with this, or someone better deal with this, or both of us are gone, and then you're screwed, right? Like, there's so many ways that you can beat these cards. Even though it's easier to cast, it is 8 mana. It is so hard to set up. There are so many things that have to go right. Like, the statement from Gavin is very disingenuous. I disagree with Gavin. Yes, it disproportionately technically affects the player on your right, but the amount of things that have to go your way for Biorhythm to actually mean something is absolutely insane. Okay?
Coast team basically honoring some of what the previous rules committee did in saying, like, yeah, look, sure, this card could be a problem. Honestly, I think at 8 mana, you probably should be pushing towards ending the game anyway. So, and this also doesn't end the game. It just puts, I mean, it could, I guess, if you had no creatures.
Right, yeah.
But
technically, someone could board wipe on their turn or something to reset it, and then you could cast that.
This, to me, is in the similar category as Coalition Victory, which came off the ban list last time.
Yeah.
They made it a game changer. Has not done much of anything, I think it would be totally fine.
Nothing.
And this would probably end up in a very similar situation.
Next on the list, we have Golos, Tireless Pilgrim. It is a legendary artifact creature. It costs 5 mana. It says, when Golos, Tireless Pilgrim enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. He also has an ability for 2 colorless and Wooburg that says, exile the top 3 cards
I'm gonna give my opinions after each card. If they're gonna go through a couple of them, I'll let them say their piece.
of your library. You may play them this turn without paying their mana costs. And he's a 3/5. So, yeah.
This one I think we might end up getting a little bit of flack for because I think commander players generally have a sense that Golos was like oversaturating the format. I'm not sure if that's exactly Wizards' ban philosophy here, but that generally was the vibe, I think.
Wizards said, Golos is an incredibly powerful 5-color option that both finds any land, ensuring that even if dead, you likely had enough mana to recast it next turn, and has an activated ability that can be an extremely strong spout for all that mana. It really homogenized games and was a de facto best commander option for many, many decks.
So they're basically already kind of alluded to the fact that this might be an acceptable card in higher brackets, which means that maybe it's a game changer rather than it being banned. This feels like a card that lower brackets might find powerful, but when you start moving into cards that are like actually powerful, it's kind of just fine.
I think that's what's weird and divisive about the ban list is because so much of it is from the sort of older committee's philosophy.
It's also before they had brackets and game changers as a framework to work with. Right. So
you're just seeing like so many cards that it's like, yeah, okay, at I guess your casual average table of people that are playing like precons or their sort of janky decks or whatever. Yeah, someone might play a Golos and you might be like, whoa, that guy's really good. But then
just realizing that maybe I don't know the exact time when the next card starts, so let me just yap here. So Golos, you know why Golos is perfectly fine? Because the same framework of overwhelming value exists in every other part of Commander. Every single color, combination or by itself, already has multiple commanders that do this type of thing, where when it enters the battlefield, it creates so much value, or when it's able to untap, or when you're able to use its ability immediately, it creates so much value that you are not able to like contend with that value. You are not able to come back from that value. You are not able to deal with that value. So many commanders already do this. We are in a mass pre-con era. We are in a post-design era for Commander where every single set has plenty of legendaries. Every single color can do every single thing. It's very few and far times in between where you do actually get a truly niche commander. Something that does something so new. You know, I'm thinking the Obeka and the Y'shtolas of the world that double up on upkeeps. Not even double up, just mass reproduce upkeeps on the Obeka, or double up on end steps when it comes to Y'shtola. Truly unique commanders that do something that no other commander has done before. And Golos, in many ways, technically, like every commander technically doesn't have that same text as someone else, but it does in effect so similar. It is a 5-color. Golos to me falls under that definition, not strictly, but in the idealism of a 5-color slot commander. When you say that it is one that many players can use, it is the Kenrith model of everything, right? It's functionally the same thing to me. Like we literally printed that Ashling commander in Lorwyn precons. Tell me, for anyone that has played against the Lorwyn Ashling commander, the elemental commander that allows you to evoke any elemental card, it has to be a permanent card, 4/4, how many times has that card been played fairly? Never. By the way, I don't even need to pause the screen. That card, every single time I played against that card, I've seen that card. I've seen combos for that card. I've seen discussions about that card. I've had discussions about that card. It has never been played fairly. That is a 3-mana commander that is extremely easy to recast. There are so many cost reducers in those colors, so much good mana ramp in those colors to just be able to recast if removed. The problem exists. The argument for it being true in Golos makes no sense. The format, again, it's true, is designed in a game changers era. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, if you play like just anything higher bracket, it's just kind of, it's like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, it could come back out and be back into the EDH rec top 10 or whatever. And then people would be like, well, see, we knew that it was going to do this again, and everybody's defaulting to it. But like, I don't know, in some ways, I think some players argued that like, yeah, it's nice to have a commander that you.
But that's player choice, though. Again, I've talked about this before, and they've even acknowledged it. The elk trinket snail avocado artist. There's that TV head person now. Like all these like commander content creator conglomerates have been hyper focusing the commander format. The enfranchised player that watches these channels have been homogenizing the format around concepts. Because of them, the commander format has become homogenized. People making choices to make this deck a good deck is a personal choice. There are vastly different and equally and more powerful commanders than Golos. There are so many, and it just requires proper deck construction. The average player will not be able to construct a Golos deck more powerful than an enfranchised player who can take the average commander, the average legendary. They will be able to optimize it. So just choosing to make a Golos deck doesn't mean anything. I think players do not understand what actually loses them the game in an average game of Magic, and that is further exacerbated past 1v1 in multiplayer where you have to track so many things.
You can default to if you're trying to build a deck that just doesn't have a default, like doesn't have a commander, right? It doesn't. There's no commander that supports what you're doing, so you kind of default to Golos, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It is a little tough if it's like setting the floor, you know, like this is the floor of like, if there is no commander, you're going to play this one. I think generally this is probably fine to come off the list and be a game changer, if that.
Yes,
yeah.
100%.
I just think a big 100%. Part of this format is I feel like just letting your like local community self-police, right? So like, if someone says they're going to play their Golos, you just say no. Like, right. I don't know. Like that's
or it's like, I'm going to play my Golos deck. My bracket 1 Golos, my bracket 2 Golos, my bracket 3 Golos, my bracket 4, you know, like that. It's, I don't know. Are people doing that? I don't think so.
Next on the list, we have Leovold, Emissary of Trest, Sultai commander that says each opponent can't draw more than one card each turn. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. And it's a 3/3.
So
this is for all the people that hate stacks. All the people that hate stacks. You let this stay around. This, you know what this is? This is a skill check. Play your removal. Play your removal. And you know what? You don't always have the removal. Play the counterspell. You don't always have the counterspell. Do something. Work together. Swing at that player. I don't always have the creature. Folks, at some point, you go down the list of everything you don't have. Did you actually build a good deck? Did all three people at that table equally dealing with the problem of Leovold? Because when that Leovold player windfalls, right? When that Leovold player windfalls, and all three of you equally deal with this, did all three of you make a good deck? Or did all three of you make a bad deck that's not able to deal with this Leovold? Whose problem is that? Whose problem? Especially in bracket 4. Forget 5, especially in 4. Huh? What are we doing? Come on, admit it. Hold on. You don't like it when the mirror is put up to you. You don't like that.
So this feels like it was banned in a world before Nadu.
Sure.
You know?
It was.
Yeah.
So.
Now look, Nadu's also banned, but like, this is not Nadu, right? Like, I feel like maybe there's some weirdness with like limiting how many cards other players can draw, but like the format probably needs that.
There's worse pieces to prevent your opponents from doing certain things,
like,
right?
You always get access to it. It's in the command zone, but like, let's tone down the card draw maybe.
Yeah.
Like, you know what my thing is with Leovold and Nadu? You know what my thing is? It's like freaking Yuriko. No one has built fair Yuriko decks. Play something like you're doing it on purpose. If you built a fair Yuriko deck, you're doing it on purpose. You're purposely making choices that don't actually work for your commander, which means you actually haven't built a good commander deck. If you have built a decent Yuriko deck, it's insane. It's insane. If you built a regular Yuriko deck, it's broken. It's broken. If you built a bad fair Yuriko deck, you're either lying or it's purposely a bad deck, which means you didn't actually build a good deck. You had to take a busted commander and do something, but for some reason, that's fine. Commander ninjutsu, that's fine, but Nadu's not, Leovold's not, right? Like, people get very like, I think it's like it's psychological, right? Like you see something in front of you, you can visualize it, and of course you can see that's the problem. But then when you this is, by the way, this is not this is a USB, by the way. This is not a vape. I'm not insane. I'm not putting chemicals in my I'm not putting like insane chemicals that are going to put bubbles in my lungs, right? This is a USB. But there are people that see something up front and then they see that that's a problem. It literally says, danger, do not walk. Do not walk here. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm not going to walk here. I'm not going to walk here. But then they see a sign, they say, caution, potential danger. And you're like, I just need to get over there. Caution, icy road. Okay, I'll drive slow. You can still veer off and die. You can still veer off and die. There can still be something that comes out of the woods across the road, causes you to veer off, and then you're gone. These things can still happen. There is a non-zero, if you believe in the mathematical stochasticity of the world and the universe, there is a non-zero chance that you will spontaneously combust. There have been, 5 to 6 recorded times of that happening in human history? And that's recorded times. There is a non-zero chance that anything can truly happen if you believe in the randomness of the world. So what are we talking about here? Just because like the danger levels are all there, right? And of course, my example is probably bad here because I'm talking about a situation that's confirmed danger versus potential. You can like walk around it. All I'm trying to say is that there is danger. And how we go about that danger doesn't change the fact that there is something dangerous here. We probably shouldn't be out on the icy road. What are we doing there? Right? Like, what are we really doing there? We probably shouldn't be walking down the lonely path in the middle of the night. What are we doing there? You know, let's so many things.
What's their stated reason for having this ban?
Wizard says stopping your opponents from drawing extra cards is very powerful in Commander. Coupled with the fact you can play it as your commander and get value if people try and target you, makes Leovold unlikely to return. I think what's interesting about hearing this is I'll read the sentence of what they're saying, and then they follow it up with, and that's why it's not coming back. But like, I don't see what they're saying as being that big of an issue.
Yeah.
Generally, I've played games with Leovold as the commander, at the table, and like, it's not a problem.
Nobody really. Yeah. I think generally speaking, they kind of lean towards like removing some of these kind of negative play patterns, right? Things that sort of limit the ability for people to do things, but there's still plenty of them exist in the format. Yeah. Also, again, this was banned before they had game changers. I think this easily is a game changer, and then that's it. Yeah. There is a little bit of weirdness with having commanders as game changers, which we talked about before, which is that like selecting if your commander is a game changer. Oh, you know what? There's also another piece of logic that makes this easier. Wizards themselves has come out and said that like, the commander is the known entity, right? It's the known thing that you know about what your opponent is going to play. Right. So you can opt out. Right. Right. The commander is the easiest thing to opt out.
It's why it's difficult to hear the argument of saying like, well, this thing is in the command zone, so it's hard to work around because it's like,
see, that's true with like Eminence. That's why they've talked about how Edgar Markov, Dragon, all that stuff, like those are mistakes in designs. When you create emblems that are uninteractable, you start getting like Bandai card design where you have like leaders, you have Riftbound with like legends. Like when you get into these ethereal, uninteractable, like you can't do anything about effects like emblems, that's when it becomes a problem. But when you have to cast it, that's when it's easier, right? Like that's where companions became a lot easier to deal with. And companions are still like a crazy mechanic. But when you were able to cast them straight from the companion zone, busted, insane, absolutely wild. But when you were able to put them into your hand, okay, a lot more reasonable. We probably still shouldn't be unbanning Luros. Probably still shouldn't be doing that. But in some ways, it actually did help. Like when you put Kahira into your hand, Kahira in your hand is arguably more valuable because now it pitches to the Endurance and pitches to Solitude. You don't even want it on the battlefield, to be honest, because your elementals are probably evoked into the trash or being dealt with anyway, right? Like there are situations where the change to it actually does help. And so Leovold coming out of the command zone is helpful. There are legendaries that are considered these game changers. And so putting it on the game changers list does help.
Tell someone I'm playing my Leovold deck. Well, someone knows.
I don't want to play against it. Right. Yeah, that just by that logic, I think it can come off the ban list. But yeah, like you can move it onto the game changers list. Also, the thing that's weird about commanders being on the game changers list is that if you choose a commander as your game changer, you always have access to it. So it sort of makes commanders as game changers a little weird, but whatever. All right, what's the next one?
Next on the list, we have Rofalos, Llanowar Emissary. Rofalos is a legendary creature, 2 green for a 2/1, and he has a tap ability that says add 1 green mana to your mana pool for each forest you control.
Guy seems fine. He seems good. You know, he's a good mana dork. You can have him in the command zone. He makes mana. That's one of the 3 things that we talk about commanders being able to do. They either make mana, they are a card advantage, or they win you the game.
He's good. He's good at making mana, but he's mono green.
Mono green,
right?
You know, like he doesn't give you access to a wide variety of things. He's not abusable in the command zone, like something like Lumra. What's that other one I was talking about? She's also good.
Savala.
Seems fine. What's their rationale for having a ban?
Wizard says the mana provided by Rofalos out of the command zone is massive. Maybe this is something you could only be in your deck and not as a commander, but it's much stronger when your deck is built around it. Yes, technically.
I mean,
creature, 2 green for a 2 in the command zone. You're already limited, I think, that end up generating more forest. This is something you could only be in your deck and not as a commander, but it's much stronger when your deck is built around it. Yes, technically it is stronger when your deck is built around it because you can have things that end up generating more forest, turns all your creatures into forest, and then you generate a lot of mana with that. But like, you generate a lot of mana, what do you then do with it? Right.
Yeah.
And when you're in mono green, right, you're already limited, I think, somewhat on card draw. Like, you're limited on what you can do. So I think those limitations already being set in place by having this in the command zone, like, is fine. And once again, their logic is out the window when, like, that's the thing that allows people to self-select out of games, right? Someone ends up playing a Rofalos and someone's like, well, okay, that's way too strong. I'm not going to play. Yeah.
Too much mana.
Right. Even though we talked about before starting this that Kinnan is still legal and
not even a game changer.
Not even a game changer. Not non-game.
When's the last time you seen a fair Kinnan deck? Not me. I got 4 whole eyes to look with, and I ain't never seen a fair Kinnan deck.
Changer Kinnan.
Non-game changer Kinnan.
Next on the list, we have Sundering Titan. Sundering Titan is an artifact creature, an 8 cost, 7/10, that says when Sundering Titan enters the battlefield or leaves the battlefield, choose a land of each basic land type, then destroy those lands.
Yeah, this one just falls under the land destruction category.
Yeah.
Like literally the game, not the game changers. The bracket system solves this card. Yo, I can't play Blood Moon in bracket 3. I can't play Ruination. I can't play Ruination in bracket 3. Are you kidding me? I can't play Mono Red and I can't play Ruination. That's the friggin' problem. That's my problem. What are we really talking about here? Sundering Titan is 8 mana. Oh, I cheated out with Trinket Mage, and then I sack it to my Phyrexian Arena, and then all of a sudden I got you. Oh my god, I got you. Okay, you can't play it in bracket 3. The vast majority of commander players, this will never affect. This will never affect them. Why is this? I don't know, Matt. I don't know. I don't know. You're
not allowed to play land destruction in the lower brackets anyway. So
I mean, except for all the other land destruction spells that are still viable. And
I just mean it's on the it's in the sort of explicit rules of like
yeah. So there's no point in having it banned because it's already taken care of. Right.
But what's the rationale?
Wizard says this card is miserable at low power tables as
it's good wording.
Yeah, as it blows up tons of your opponent's lands and tends to get blinked, reanimated, or otherwise triggered time and time again.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say at low power tables, but they're blinking, reanimating, and triggering it multiple times. I'm like, I feel like that then is not low powered.
Well, it's also again, land destruction isn't. It's explicitly stated you're not supposed to be doing land destruction anyway, so it doesn't matter. The logic is inconsistent, and I think it's because it was written before.
Thank you.
Sure. It's a fairly unfun experience. It's possible that as brackets continue to increase in adoption, maybe this would be it italicized. This would be an acceptable game changer. Though even then, upgraded decks don't want mass land denial around. Even if someone wants to go ahead and bring this out and they want to flicker it and have everyone's lands blow up or whatever and essentially reset the table. Like, one, everyone's probably just going to scoop at that point.
Probably.
And
or they'll keep playing out of spite.
Sure, they might keep spite playing. But even then, it's like that has to be, like you said, like what, bracket 3 and up before you can have land destruction?
I mean, even 3, I think, might even.
So brackets 4 and 5.
4 and 5,
right.
Yeah.
So
which, like, nobody in CEDH is playing this.
Right.
Like, let me ramp all the way to 8 mana and then blow up some lands.
Totally fine. Next is Sylvan Primordial. Sylvan Primordial is a avatar creature, a 6/8 that costs 5 and 2 green. It has reach. That's not the important part. When Sylvan Primordial enters, yeah, already too good. A 6/8 with reach. When Sylvan Primordial enters the battlefield, for each opponent, destroy target non-creature permanent that player controls.
Right.
For each permanent destroyed this way, search your life.
By the way, that's land, artifact, enchantment, a battle that destroys battle. You know.
Library for a forest card and put that card onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. I laughed out loud when I saw this was banned.
This is so I talked about this in a previous video. This is so safe to unban. This is so safe to unban. Like I think we're sick in the head. Like people that actually think this is unsafe, they're sick in the head. Like you don't play enough Commander. I genuinely don't know. I don't think you know what you're talking about. You either build bad decks or you're in mismatched pods where no one knows how to communicate with each other. This card is so balanced. It does so many things like other things do. Like, yes, you're the one gaining the advantage. You destroy something, you gain the forest. Like, what does that matter? What does that matter? It's just green stuff. It's green players doing green crap. You let people cast Omnath. You let people cast Ramp. You let people play mana triplers and y'all don't blink an eye. Like, why did I lose? Because they're on friggin' 15 mana on turn 2 because they're just green. You know, I'm just a green player. Like, yeah, I bet. This is just the most average mid low end green crap I've ever seen. This is the most green thing I've ever seen. This is not new. Why is this on the ban list?
I mean, look, it seems good at casual tables. Like you're blowing up a bunch of shit. You're getting some value.
There's so many cards that are good at casual tables.
I know. Look, I
don't know what
this seems fine to me too. This also falls in line with our sort of guns versus butter argument in that like it's pretty difficult to get people over the hurdle of playing removal because it doesn't technically like advance your game plan. Where this one does.
This one does.
This which would be great. Like just unban this.
We need more cards like this.
Yeah.
Turgid's not banned. Speaking of, the Wizard says for Sylvan Primordial, speaking of blinking and land destruction, Sylvan Primordial puts you ahead while setting everybody else back and is a prime candidate to clone, blink, and flicker.
That's what we want.
It is not the most fun card, especially at more casual tables. I could go onto EDH Rec right now, and I guarantee you I could find so many less fun cards that I've seen in games than this card.
It feels like a holdover.
This feels like the most broken thing to blink, do anything, slap your mom, like any. Oh my god! Like it's not like any other Magic card exists that is broken when it's cloned. It's not like any other Magic card exists that's broken when you blink it. Like the amount of things that go infinite when you breathe on a Cloud of Fairies. Breathe on a Kiki Jiki. Like what? I don't think Commander players are not serious. I say this as a Commander player. I've seen the most unserious group of people play this game. Oh my god. Some of the cards on this ban list are so unserious. It will not change anything. People are such crybabies.
I think, whatever. This one seems fine. So let's move into these are a little spicy. These are kind of on the borderline for us as to whether or not they should be unbanned or not, but we might have some arguments as to why they should be unbanned.
Yes. So first on our list, we have Balance. Balance is a sorcery, 1 and a white. Says each player chooses a number of lands he or she controls equal to the number of lands controlled by the player who controls the fewest.
Literally just call this land destruction. You can't play this in bracket 3. It's not a problem. This is not spicy. This is the same thing as any land destruction spell. Just call this mass land denial. The reason it's not called destruction. It's denial when it comes to the bracket system. Call this denial. This will not matter for the vast majority of Commander players because you then cannot play this in bracket 3. This is so dumb. In a post-bracket world, the bracket solves so much of this. So much of this, the vast majority of Magic players, of Commander players, will never have to worry about this card the minute you consider this mass land denial.
Then sacrifices the rest. Players discard cards and sacrifice creatures the same way.
Look, part of the reason why I think this maybe should come off the ban list is because CEDH might want this card. Stacks is particularly bad in CEDH. They have a lack of tools. They're not going to ban or unban anything for CEDH, but the only reason why I would even start advocating for this card is that you could sort of reinvigorate.
I think the only card they've done that with was Flash
because of balance.
Like
I feel like most of these cards I'm going to be like, sure,
right?
like,
yeah. Well, and again, we tend to have this philosophy of like let's build a system that lets the players build the experience that they want. I think under the framework though, it's like why have a ban list at all? Other than like cards that just break the game.
Right.
It's almost like you almost need like 2 tiers of game changer, which is sort of what the ban list is. Cause it's like, well, game changers are like, you don't have to like opt in to that experience. It's like, that's just on the game changer list. In the ban list, you would have to opt into that experience.
I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards ban list or maybe a game changer list, like basically what they currently have, but lean a little bit more towards if things are going to be banned, it's mostly for gameplay purposes. It's for like a functional
Something
competitive level or something.
Yeah.
Next on the list, we have Dockside Extortionist. Dockside Extortionist is one in red.
And this is where my philosophy breaks. It's like those 3 cards. You have the Dockside ban, the Mana Crypt. There's one more. Whatever. I don't even remember. Jewel Lotus. Yeah. Those were banned for a reason. I probably don't largely don't agree with the reason for the bans. Okay, you know what? I'm not completely I understand the reasoning for it, but still we could have just called, okay, now we can call them game changers if they were to come up. Now we could call them game changers. The reason this breaks my philosophy of everything can be unbanned is because of the death threats that happen. Someone in the comment section is going to call me a virtue signaling loser. Like someone's going to be like, oh my God, was there proof? Show me proof. It's like those right-wing losers that it's like them right-wing losers. If any of you comment like that, I need y'all look through the comments and clown those people. Report their posts, comment, clown those people. Those are people that do not believe in anything. They have no reasonable actual deduction skills whatsoever. They're just mad they lost $90 on a Dockside. That's all it is. It's just finance bros. That's all it is. It's just finance bros upset about money they never had, that's all that is. But now, when it comes to this ban, of course, based on my philosophy, yes, I do believe in that vacuum it can be unbanned. But when you consider the whole death threat in the situation that came up, it's hard for me to justify that. So I wonder what they'll say.
The 1/2 goblin pirate creature.
We know what it does.
Okay. Well, it comes into play. It enters the battlefield. Create X treasure tokens, where X is the number of artifacts and enchantments your opponents control.
Look, this is just because you want to make tokens and sell prints. We know. It's all right. That's why we put it here.
I made a lot of money off this card. So.
Could this be unbanned? It could be. Is it better for the format if it's unbanned?
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It used to be that games, especially CEDH, would revolve around Dockside. But now they sort of revolve around Ristic Study or Atali, just like Turbo, whatever. The one thing I will say, we've talked about this before, that in a battle cruiser style game, the person that you need to think about more is not the person who gets out further ahead. It's the person who is falling behind, and Dockside would help you catch back up if you had fallen behind. I would be really curious to see data on the seat win position problem when Dockside was in the format. I do wonder if Dockside was helping with some of those problems. I don't know. That's just speculation.
It does mean that the person that is already ahead could play it. That's a total possibility. But
sure.
It's I don't know. I think we've described it as the Smash Bros. Hammer, and I think that it's good to try and have more of those. I could see it coming back, but I also understand if it stays banned. Next on the list, we have Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn. Emrakul is a 15 cost legendary creature, Eldrazi, that has 15 power and toughness. Emrakul says this spell can't be countered. When you cast a spell, take an extra turn after this one. It has flying, protection.
Because it just... this card exhausts me. I don't know. I always forget why people care about this in Commander, because as a modern mill player, I always care about this in the graveyard and in the deck. I've never had to care about this in any conceptual reason for that. And it's not even for the fact that it gets cast. If it gets cast, yeah, you sneak attack it in, and then 15 Annihilator 6, or you do cast it off in Omniscience and then you win. There is that. Okay, you've done a combo amount of things to win the game. You deserve to win the game. You've gone about a combo. But I've forgotten what this card even means to be in a commander. I guess okay, yeah, you ramp to 15, you take an extra turn after you cast this, and you just win the game. It's it's not functionally, it's like almost a win setup on your turn. But I also just don't see how this is like that far off of a Crater Hoof. Like, it's very televised. Once you get to 15, you know it's there. Yes, this can't be countered. You know, this spell can't be countered. So there is that bonus coming out of the command zone. But there are ways that we can get around that. There, you know, when you cast the spell, take an extra turn after this one. Like, that's a trigger. We can counter triggers. This is still, you know, protection from spells that are one or more colors. Like, yes, now you don't have a bunch of colorless things. So I will say that, like, this does have a lot of protection for it. It's really hard to interact with, right? Protection from one or more like spells that are one or more colors. The Annihilator 6, so it's like you can't even like try and block it that well. Like, the Annihilator 6 is like massive, but it also is like only one. Like, if you put Helm of the Host on this, okay, you win. You created such an exorbitant amount of mana. You take your extra turn, you put Helm of the Host on this. Everyone gets Annihilator 6. Everyone's like taking the Dudu Kaka L, but it feels so televised that I feel like someone can do something. I don't know.
From spells that are one or more colors and Annihilator 6. And then if it were to be put into a graveyard from anywhere, its owner shuffles their graveyard into their library.
I think people generally like Emrakul. At the time, I think their rationale for why they banned this was that this just was the thing that was like closing out a lot of games. And now it's like, well, you got rid of the thing that's at the top of that, you know, look, it's colorless. It can be played in a lot of decks, but like, you got rid of that thing that was closing out the games, and now Crater Hoof just closes out a lot of games, right? So
it's big scary thing that does big scary thing, and I feel like it's weird to justify it by saying like, well, this thing does too big scary of a thing, and it's like, well, you're paying the mana cost for
15.
that.
Yeah, well, you can use something like Sneak Attack or whatever to put it into like Show and Tell.
You can do that with anything else that's also big and scary,
right? Yeah. Now this one in particular. All right. Well, if you didn't cast it, you don't get the extra turn, but you do still get the attack from like the Annihilator 6 with something like Sneak Attack or whatever.
But you can't attack with it on the first turn if you end up
Sneak Attack.
Does it give it haste?
Yeah.
Well,
you put it into play, it attacks, and you sacrifice
it. There you go.
Yeah. But again, you'd have to have the Sneak Attack. You'd have to have Emrakul. I don't know. Look, I just want this for semi-blue. Let's go. Let's do it.
There's plenty of things that you can sneak attack. It doesn't need to be Emrakul. I think Emrakul is worse off as a commander than something you can cheat out. Yes, it's a very powerful thing to cheat out. I would argue there's like equally powerful things that are just doing other things. Like, you're not going to have something that has Annihilator 6, protection from all this stuff, but there's other things you can sneak attack in that provide insane value, draw you a bunch of cards, crazy ETBs, wild power tough, like all this type of stuff. Like sneak attacking in a Galta with like a full grip. Like, there's insane things that you can do. I don't think that's I think it's more of an argument for it being in the command zone. But again, if you just made it a game changer, it'd be very easy to just like kind of everyone focus in, attack that player. And then by the time they have any amount of resources, they're just going to swing in and kind of deal with one player. And that'll be it. That's all they're going to be able to do. And they're just going to lose the game. At that point, they're just going to lose the game. So that's like one thing to take into account when it comes to that.
Yeah, it'd be good. At the very least, like, I don't see why it can't just be a game changer. Like, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Next, we have Grizzlebrand.
Oh, Grizzle Daddy. Look. Reanimator's not great in Commander, guys. It's not really a great strategy. It's pretty easy for you to like put a big dumb creature in play and somebody bounce back to your hand. Give us something. Give us something good. Look, we got Atraxa, I realize, but Atraxa doesn't go, the colors, man. It's hard to play. It's hard to put in your deck. If you give us back Grizzlebrand, we'll be real happy. All right, what's Grizzlebrand do?
Grizzlebrand is a legendary creature demon. It costs 4 and 4 black and is a 7/7 with flying lifelink. And if you pay 7 life, you can draw 7 cards.
Yeah, it's a real bummer that he costs 8 mana.
I know, yeah. That's
7
the
mana,
biggest
7/7
fumble from Mark Rosewater.
You notice how, I will say this from a 1v1 player perspective, like when it comes to the unban of something like this, I would just point out to the fact that every single, Reanimator, cheaty outy type of deck, like very few, okay, I shouldn't say every single one, very few of them still use Grizzlebrand. Very few of them. Because it's just not a great threat. It's not a great threat. It just creates a lot of value. You would rather play Atraxa. You would rather get out an Archon of Cruelty. If you're playing Neoform in Modern, sure, like there's value to it because you do actually want to draw into consignment memories and stuff. So like the Gristlebrand's actually valuable there for a purpose. But before, Gristlebrand used to just be around to draw you a bunch of cards and then take it from there. The problem is like, okay, what if you don't have a card that, you know, like a Reliquary Tower, or there's like an artifact that does the same thing, and like other cards, right, that give you an infinite hand size? Yeah, you can pay a bunch of life, draw 14 cards, draw 21 cards, whatever it is. You can do that. But then what do you do if you have to dump a bunch of those cards? Right now, oh, I have the quote unquote perfect hand. Okay, now everyone's going to attack you. You did a bunch of things. The Gristlebrand might die. Like, there's so many things that have to go right for you, right? And Gristlebrand isn't always the best target. Again, highlighting how in multiple other formats, in 1v1, Gristlebrand has waxed and really waned in playability because of the power of other cards. Now, those cards, I will admit, are more powerful in 1v1, like in Archon of Cruelty specifically. But especially when it comes to value overall, I think now there are even bigger and badder threats to put out. So I don't know if Gristlebrand really lines up to where we're at today. And again, if you make it a game changer, it is even less likely that is something that you cheat out.
Yeah. Just, yeah.
Self-admitted fumble.
Whoops. Any rate, love Gristlebrand. They should unban him. Yeah. I don't think they will, but they should because he's cool.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he's very powerful, but
shout out to
Villas is
Gristy.
sort of the fixed replacement of Gristlebrand, and he's not the same.
Yeah.
He's just not. He just doesn't cut it.
I will point out here, Wizards' reasoning for having Gristlebrand be banned says cheating out a Gristlebrand and drawing an absurd number of cards was an incredibly powerful thing to
Hell
do
yeah.
during the 1 month window where it was legal. Insane that it was legal for 1 month and then they've just never tested it since.
Yeah.
Leading to quick action. Once in play, you tend to draw either 28 or 35 cards immediately, and the game often ends that turn. I can imagine a world in which Gristlebrand returns for high bracket players to enjoy, but I would say it is more likely than not Gristlebrand permanently remains on the banned list.
I feel like, again, this should be a situation where players get to decide how they want to customize their stuff, and Gristlebrand should be on the menu, boys.
Yep. I agree. Next, this is probably a very divisive one. Hole Breacher.
Oh, yeah, this is a maybe.
Hole Breacher is 2 and a blue, a merfolk pirate that has 3 power and 2 toughness. It has flash. If an opponent would draw a card except the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, instead you create a treasure token.
Yeah, so the only reason why we ended up putting this on the maybe list is because an effect like this seems particularly good to counteract some of the Ristic Study meta problems. A long time ago, put out a video about like
But like, there's so many cards that like, yo, come on, no. Orcish Bowmasters is still a thing, vastly different, wildly different in terms of what it does, because it doesn't restrict the draw, it just punishes the draw. Notion Thief's a thing, Narset's a thing. This one does flash out, it's a creature. There's pluses and minuses to it. It's definitely good for many reasons, right? If it kind of feels like we're trying to make this decision off of high power stuff, and I don't think that's where we need to balance Commander. We should not be balancing Commander for CEDH because CEDH is a fundamentally unbalanced format. We should not be balancing it for that whatsoever. We should be balancing it, honestly, on average, for the average Magic player, the majority of Magic players. We should be starting at bracket 3. And then we should extrapolate from there. Okay, it's okay in bracket 3, but for some reason, this is insane in bracket 4. What does that mean? Right? And we should build it out from there. Okay, maybe we should ban this because, yeah, it's not seeing play in bracket 3, but once you get to 4 with no restrictions, then it becomes a real problem. Okay, then we can change that. Then we can maybe make it into a game changer. Maybe we can do that, right? Like, it's not banned, but it's still available in bracket 3 where it's fine. In bracket 4, it is now unrestricted. Now it's a game changer. Do we just ban it? Do we just keep it banned? I don't think that's a problem, though. I don't think that's a problem. Like, I don't think there's a single card that's going to be that much of a problem where we need to ban it, other than for like racist connotations, weird like Gooner art, or just like design that's not meant to work for stuff like this. Like, you're thinking of like the unsets or whatever, right? Like that stuff makes sense. That stuff makes sense. But when it comes to just like actual gameplay, I don't know if we've designed like truly broken stuff for multiplayer. Right? We've done so for 1v1 where you can create insane value propositions and just a lot of, first player win rates versus second. That's like a long-term discussion when it comes to all TCGs. And it gets exacerbated in Commander as well. I just think the balancing factor of group in a casual setting, like, I don't know if we truly
problems with risk studying the stalemate scenarios that it creates. And this could be some interesting counterplay to that kind of meta. The problem is that it's also blue.
Right. It's not so much that this is on the maybe list because we actually think Hull Breacher should come back. I think it's more so that we think Wizards should probably explore this effect in other cases, in other instances.
Right. And also probably some way to sort of nerf drawing of cards while also making sure that it's not all that exploitable by wheels. Obviously, that's the problem here, is that you can play this and then wheel and then nobody draws cards. You make a bunch of treasures, you win the game. Yeah. But like, you win the game.
I mean, I love that type of an effect. It's very similar to like a Smothering Tithe, right? Someone ends up drawing a card, and
yes,
no, that's when you draw a card, right? No, when someone else draws.
Yeah, Smothering Tithe other people. Yeah. And like Notion Thief and stuff still exists in the format, but yeah, really, Hull Breacher was just here to mention that, you know, something like this might be interesting.
Yeah. So Hull Breacher probably should still be banned.
Probably was going to stay banned. Yep.
Hopefully Wizards plays around with that effect. Next, this is the one that's going to be most hotly debated. Jeweled Lotus. Jeweled Lotus is a zero-cost artifact that if you tap it and sacrifice Jeweled Lotus, you add 3 mana of any one color. Spend this mana only to cast your commander.
I actually do think that this is probably the most likely card to be unbanned of the 4 that were banned by the rules committee before Wizards of the Coast took over.
Really? Gavin Verhey would have something. I don't know. I don't know if Gavin Verhey would agree. I don't know if that committee would agree. That's a take. That's a take. That is a take. Similar to the Dockside thing, it should be unbanned. Like, I guess conceptually never will, like all that type of stuff. Gavin, I don't know. Gavin Verhey wouldn't agree with the Gavin of the distraction makers talking about this, but I'm interested to see what Forrest says. No, I think if you were to pick out of the 3, it would be Dockside, because then you're color restricted. It would definitely be Dockside. This is a very crazy card. I understand why Mana Crypt and this were banned, because they explained it really well in the sense of it really speeds up certain commanders. And I think that makes that's problematic from a high power perspective. I can understand that, but even then it's a choice to put it in there. You make it a game changer. It just, all it does is it warps bracket 4. And I think when you get into design of cards like this, then you really start talking about homogenization. And that's when you start to understand okay, if we're homogenizing bracket 4, because homogenization of bracket 5, quote unquote, makes sense because that's a metagame. That there are metagames there. You want to play around the best cards, play around the best decks. That is homogenization. Everyone's playing the same crap. But when it comes to bracket 4, that's not playing around a meta. It can be close to 5, but in many ways, 4 is also a vast chasm of self-expression as well. It still allows you to be yourself and optimize at your own will and not have to play the best decks. You can play a functional CEDH deck, but you're just not playing all of the correct counterspells, all of the correct ramp. You're still expressing yourself in some way in the type of cards that you want to play. And so bracket 4 can still allow for something like this to be broken, but then it can also not. It can also just play this for value. It can also just not play this for value. You could be playing a 3-color commander and a 4-color commander, and this is not that valuable in there.
Format. This again comes back to that philosophy of you want to probably be thinking about the person who is falling behind in a 4-player game and how they might be able to catch back up. This is a good opportunity for that. It also opens the door to play commanders that are higher converted mana cost, where otherwise you might just choose one that's 2 or 3 mana. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of benefits here in terms of giving players a tool to play higher up the mana curve for the commanders, which is interesting because it sounds like that was the reason why they banned it in the first place, was they were like, whoa, it's too good with 4 and 5 mana commanders. We got to ban this. And that's okay, well then nobody's going to play 4 and 5 mana commanders at those higher bracket levels. Make it a game changer. It should be fine.
Yeah. I don't know. I won't get into this.
This is also the only format that this card can exist in.
Yeah. So the only format that it exists in. And I think that what's funny is yes, it's technically stronger than a Lotus Petal in a way, but it's also not, right? In that
depends on the deck, but yeah.
Right. But the Lotus Petal can be used for anything. Jeweled Lotus can only be used for your commander. So if you draw it too late in the game and you already have your commander out, you're kind of fucked.
Doesn't do anything.
Forrest,
was that a cuss?
want to draw it early and you get your commander out early, but then you're like back on curve, right? So you got hopefully the thing that maybe is going to develop some sort of an engine with your commander, but then like you're right back to where everybody else is. So you did get a little bit of a boost, but that's not a permanent boost. It's not like an artifact that comes out, you drop it down and you tap it and you just always get 3 mana, you know?
Right. Yep.
Next, we have Primeval Titan.
Oh my God, this card is so fine to be unbanned. Oh my God, people are so mad at things that do green things. This is like Biorhythm. It's like that other Sylvan thing that people are talking about blinking. We need to be, okay, ban all of green or let this be unbanned. Like we need to get over ourselves. Green is the most powerful color in Commander. It does everything. It draws, it counters, it interacts, it ramps, it plays big fatty things, it plays small cute things, it plays a lot of interactive things. It's got prison pieces, it's got group hug cards. Green does it all. It is the best color by itself in a vacuum in Commander. It does it all. We need to be okay with this. Like there are so many other cards that are doing soft impressions of this, better versions of this, or just getting you more value than this. This is fine to be unbanned. It's not even a legendary creature. It is not even a legend. Just make it a game changer. None of this makes sense with a game changer list out.
2 green. It's a creature. That's a 6/6 with trample. And whenever Primeval Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, you may search your library for up to 2 land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library.
Primeval Titan's great. Okay. But and there's decks that want this card.
For sure. Obviously,
right. Obviously, Amulet Titan, great deck. Has some play patterns that are a little problematic for people that don't really understand how to pilot the deck.
That's like the Gavin's talking about like the infinite loop with Gavin's talking about the infinite loop with that green and 1 for a 1/3, you pay 4, return all lands. For entries, you mill 3, you pay 4 lands, return all your lands. Like, but the infinite loop you get with that.
Would love to have Primeval Titan. That might give it a little bit more viability. There's also just some other stuff that might want to see play. Might want to play this.
Loomer is such a fun CDH.
I don't know. Generally speaking, I don't think that this
Tier 2
would be that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's good. You get to look for any land card. It's very good. Is it like absolutely destroying the game? I don't think so. All right. So what do we think is going to happen?
If they unban anything, it will probably be stuff that just kind of doesn't make any sense to be on the list. Sure.
Like we already see this with Coalition Victory and Sway of the Stars. I would not be surprised if things get unbanned, but I'm not also like asking for it either. I think there's like some really cool things that, you know, especially now that we have a new committee, we had some members kind of fluctuate in and out. Like, I think there's some cool projects that the community is working on, and the committee, I should say, is working on. And I'm more excited for that than I am for bans and unbans. I will say.
Then they might unban Jeweled Lotus, but that's like a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
But I think ideally the brackets, like a sort of litmus test for the brackets, should be that they facilitate that sort of Smash Bros-esque thing that we've talked about, where you can turn the items off and on to your liking and find players that also want to play with those certain things turned off and on.
Yeah, although a little bit different in that you're kind of turning items off in order to have more of a casual experience in a way. But yeah, similar.
Look, I think the way that you curate Commander is that you would make smaller formats out of it, right?
Sure.
Instead of it just being like, it's everything everywhere, anything you want to play.
Yeah. That's why I like the idea of Pauper Commander.
Sure. Right.
I've never played Pauper Commander.
You find other limiting factors that would fix some of this stuff.
I believe that's everything's a common, but your commander's a uncommon, I believe.
I think that's the way you handle it, rather than like, we're going to try to ban things to shape it to be the form we want it to be in. I don't think many of those like philosophical bans make a lot of sense. Power bans for power reasons, things that would break the game.
I think that's fine.
Obviously that's fine. Or, you know, but generally speaking, I think we're on the side of like, open it up.
We had the same philosophy when they were talking about opening up hybrid mana, and not like people were freaking out because Kitchen Finks. And it's like, if you're going to freak out from Kitchen Finks, then of course people are going to freak out from Primeval Titan.
Oh yeah.
Right? I feel like people are so used to just the status quo and what they have. Right. And so if suddenly you were to either take,
it's like when you enter in a workplace as a young buck, you're 20, come into some type of office workspace, and the 45 to 60-year-old old head there like doesn't want to stop using Excel as a database. Oh, good Lord, the amount of companies that use Excel sheets as databases. Oh my God. For all those who know, you know. And like they only want to enter a certain way and their elbows hurt after 2 o'clock, so they can't do any data entry past then. We have to do this before, like all that garbage, right? And they're somehow making 3 times more than you because they can't open PDFs. Like that's the type of mentality that some of these Commander players have. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like they talk about progress and being forward thinking, but like they really can't. And sometimes I'm guilty of this as well. And that's where I would hope these people like myself are open to conversation. A lot of times they're not. These people are hard stuck in their ways. You're allowed to have an opinion, but good Lord, if it is not an opinion that's open to discussion, then I don't know. It better, I don't know. It better be about the humanity of things. It better be about people's rights, because that's not arguable. But when it comes to whether or not you like chocolate, keep that opinion open. Some chocolate sucks. Y'all know that Merci candy, complete aside. Y'all know that Merci candy that you get? The milk chocolate one, objectively the worst one. Everyone else is markedly better. Even the dark chocolate one. The milk chocolate Merci is arguably the worst one. But that's my opinion on chocolate.
Toys away, or you're going to give them more toys. All of a sudden people are like, well, that's not what I'm used to. So they don't like it, right? They're getting these things in a way that they're not accustomed to getting them. But if it were to come out in a new set, that doesn't matter.
I do think, generally speaking, people like to get things rather than have them taken away.
For sure.
So,
and yet,
unbans are nice.
They were trying to give players things with hybrid mana.
Good point.
If you enjoy listening to us speculate about the ban announcement that's going to be coming February 9th, where we're going to have a follow-up video talking about the actual ban announcements, please feel free to give us a like and a subscribe, maybe a comment down below.
If you want to talk about the ban list, you can join our Discord. Links in the description. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye. I will say I can't wait for that. I can't wait. It's like a week and a half away. I'm going to be being a creator at Spotlight Lorwyn, and then I get to wake up to Commander bans. Or Commander changes. I'm updating so many of my decks just for the event and like for things to potentially change. Gotta head back to the print shop, if you know what I mean. Have a good day, everyone. Let me know how you're feeling about the Commander upcoming bans.